Hi everyone, welcome to Potluck Food Talks. This is another The Line episode. So what's up,
The
Phil?
line because the last one was so good, man. I love the line episodes. Love that shit. It makes me happy and sad at the same time, you know.
So we were thinking about making a line episode where we would talk about fucked up characters, which is not that difficult to find in the restaurant world. Like characters or stories, but just like specific ones.
Specific ones. Hmm.
I can start if you want.
Yeah, yeah, start. You kick it off. Get the ball rolling.
So there was this place, like the chef would come every morning and like the routine was that he would walk into the door, so everybody saw him walking. Oh, okay. And it was, you were doing something else, but you would take like a plate and put it in the microwave so that the plate was nice and hot and warm. And then he would come and he would take the plate and go away. So, and I would see this all over and over again. And then I would ask, like, what is that for? Oh, he likes his plates warm for his morning cocaine line. And I was like, okay, okay, okay,
What the
nice.
fuck? What the fuck? What difference does it make if you have a warm surface for?
I don't know. I guess it makes it steamy. It steams the liquid and it makes it more powdery. No idea, man.
What country was this in?
Germany.
Really? Fuck. Come on. That's next level. You know what I kind of like to believe is that it doesn't make any difference to the cocaine. He just likes the warm feeling on his hands.
Or on his nose.
They must be
Like,
like full contact, just like face planting into the
like
plate.
some people like their coffee warm, some people like it cold. Like it's a.
Yeah, of course, of course. Um, I I have a funny story of a time when I was working in this like small restaurant in Germany also, and the chef was like he was a pretty young guy, the head chef, and he was a bit weird. He had some like really strange moments. Sometimes he was totally fine, and sometimes he had just like these freak out moments. And I was very young, and he had a lot of issues with what I was doing, probably rightfully so. And well, yeah, being totally honest, I was very green, very fresh. But I remember one time we came into the kitchen and I had spent the morning there already, just me and the dishwasher, right? And he comes in, he's kind of like doing his stuff, and he looks he's kind of talking, blah, 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 just like nonstop talking. He looks into the fridge and he closes the fridge and he's like, where's the stuffed pasta that was left over from yesterday? And I was like, I don't know. And he's like, there was pasta left over from yesterday. I want to know where it went. And I was like, well, I don't know. And he starts looking for it and he can't find it. He goes through all the fucking drawers, the fridges. And he's like, I know for a fact that I left some pasta there yesterday. I want to know what happened to it. And I was like, dude, I don't know where your pasta went. And we're talking about not like kilos of pasta. It was like I knew what he was talking about. It was like a portion of pasta that was left over. And he went to the dishwasher. It was Italian. He was like, "Do you know what happened to the pasta dishwasher?" Like, no, no. I mean, no. And and
Yeah,
then
then
he
he
just
started
went
like,
absolutely crazy. He started, no, no, this is impossible. This is food waste. Somebody ate it. Somebody threw it away. I know, and I know it was one of you. And he just started freaking out. And I was like, man, he just like started flipping out. And he was like, I'm gonna find it, and I find out who the fuck it was. And he just like goes to this like big bin that's full of like garbage of like organic waste, and he just starts like digging through this like stuff, just like throwing like banana peels and onion peels and stuff like behind him, all behind him, while me and the dishwasher just standing around him. We're like, what the fuck is happening? It's like 11 o'clock in the morning. And he's like, pa, 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 until he like finds this like scrap of pasta. And I remember him just like grabbing it in his hand and like raising it in the air, be like, aha, I knew it. At the very bottom of the fucking bin. I knew it. I knew one of you threw it away. And we just look at him in disbelief. And the dishwasher was like, oh yeah, sorry. He spoke like really bad English. And he was like, oh yeah, sorry, I threw it away this morning. That was me, sorry. And I remember him just like standing there with the pasta, this like squished in his hand, and just being like, the tension just kind of dropped, and I think he just realized himself what the fuck he was doing there.
I
And
remember you told me that story, and that it was actually a place where we worked together. And I remember that guy, he was obsessed with making bad staff meal. It was crazy. It was something like, no, no, no. I don't want anybody to invest any time in the staff meal or making something special or blah blah blah. And I remember that because you told me that story when it happened many years ago, and I remember it was just pasta with tomato sauce.
yeah,
That portion must cost like 20 cents. You know,
yeah,
and going crazy about that and making. And I remember something like I saw at that place because you learn a lot when you see people doing stuff wrong because you actually experience why it shouldn't be like that. And I remember the conversation during the staff meal was everybody talking about how bad the food was. Like what kind of input is that for a team that is
yeah.
supposed to give nice food to people? Like it's so stupid, man. It's just so stupid.
It's so stupid, and it's like it was a really good like showcase of like how not to be as a head chef and as a manager and as a person. Because yeah, like it's important not to waste food. It's important to have transparency and honesty and blah blah blah. But he wasn't actually worried about any of that. He was making a show of ego, of power. He was like, I want to know the truth, you know? Like just because he was like, I am the one in charge here. I want an answer right now, It was really misguided. And like you were saying, like the thing about staff food, I'm a strong believer that if you have a place that has bad staff food, it's a bad restaurant. Like it's a bad kitchen team. I mean, like as in not the chefs are bad, but the culture is bad.
Absolutely.
The culture
Yeah.
is bad. The work ethic is bad, and it's not a place that you want to stay because if you don't take care of your people, they're not going to take care of anything.
I've never seen like a very good place with bad stuff food. It doesn't exist. It
Exactly.
doesn't it
Yeah.
doesn't work like that. And
Absolutely.
and I've seen places where the workers bring their own food because they won't eat the food that is given, which is such a no go. Like
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really hard to get people there, like to make certain people understand that. I often, when I was working in openings, um, where the people sort of like, oh yeah, staff food, yeah. And I was like, no, staff food is very important. It was sort of, yeah, people can just order something off the menu and like we're not gonna have like a break. We're just gonna have people, they get their time and then they have like, you can take 20 minutes, then afterwards you can take 20 minutes. I was like, no, that's not gonna work. I mean, it's gonna
I
work,
mean
but it's gonna make your
that
it's gonna
I've
make
worked
your
in
restaurant
places that
shit.
work like that,
Yeah,
but it's just super inefficient.
yeah,
Like there are places that work like that. You take something off the menu, you take your time, but and also I think it's very important to give that half an hour break.
yeah,
It's important for everything, for mental health, for the quality of service, and everything. And also not being. I remember in one place it started like, yeah, you take half an hour break, but you're not getting paid for that half an hour. That people were getting paid at that place like €8 per hour. So it was a discussion about giving you €4. I mean, seriously,
ridiculous.
like at the end of the day, this kind of saving money in the corners backfires if these are the wrong corners.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I mean, from a business point of view, if that's where you're saving money, that's the wrong part. Like, that's like, if you can't do that, you can't employ the people that you need for
Exactly.
the restaurant that you have at a good rate, like if it doesn't work, it's not the fault of the people that you hire. It's the fault of your system and the way that you've built your business. So like, it's that's not the right course of action to take. You need to change other things that you can control. But you
Well,
can't just tell people I'm not gonna have you take a break.
well, there is also the opposite extreme, which would be people going too crazy about the staff food. Like
Yeah, of course.
making people cry or these kind of things.
Oh, yes. There was a really funny situation in a restaurant in the Basque Country, which is a very, very high-end restaurant. And they took star food very seriously, as in star food wasn't great, to be honest with you. Like, if I think back of it now, it was okay, but like they did have two chefs on permanently who only really took care of star food. And it always had to be like a starter, a main course, a salad, and often like a dessert. It had to be varied and stuff like that. We would always, like at a certain day, make paella, and just try to make it as nice as possible. But, what becomes apparent for a lot of people, that's also why star food is so important, is that you put a chef who's like working on the fish section, right? And he's like making all these like nice dishes. Put him on star food, let him cook 7 dishes throughout the week just by himself. And it really shows you if he's a good chef or not, because you can replicate something that somebody else makes really well. But if you're like left on your own, then it really comes to show like if they're a good cook or not. And yeah, so a lot of people then realized that they weren't actually as good as they thought they were, I think. One example that comes to mind is like when this chef was making star food and the owner of the restaurant, the head chef, who was usually never ever there, he came in for star food that day, and obviously the guy was very scared. And he made lentil soup for star food, which is, should be very easy to make, right? But it's the thing is like, if you make it just kind of half-assed, it's going to be very mediocre. If you make it really well, it's a delicious thing. But he didn't. He made it really half-assed. And so the owner of this restaurant, a very famous chef, comes in and eats the soup. And I remember he's just kind of like, it's very serious, like no emotions, just gets a plate, sits down. Everybody's like, oh, he's here, oh, cool. Eats a couple of spoons, puts the spoon down, goes to the serving place, and he's sort of like, did you cook this lentil soup? And he was like, yeah. Tell me the recipe. And the guy was like, I don't know. I take the onion and I sweat it and blah. And he was sort of like, yeah. And he was like, why do you like it? And he's like, no, it's shit. It's crap. And he was like really, he like didn't freak out at him, but he was just so ice cold and like in his face. And he was sort of like, do you want me to call my mother to come in here and show you how to cook a proper fucking lentil soup? It's like, I can't believe that you're cooking in my restaurant. You don't even know how to make a lentil soup. You should be able to make delicious star food with nothing else but potatoes, onions, and eggs. Like that should be enough for you as a chef to make something delicious. And he just like kept talking to this guy while the guy was like standing there just crying quietly to himself, just in shame, because also it happened in front of everybody, the whole team, front of house, sommeliers, all the chefs sitting there eating together. And yeah, it was really horrible.
Yeah,
really,
I've
really
heard
horrible.
stories of places like that when the chef would come in, a chef that would, be like that about staff food, and the staff food was not good enough, all the head chefs, all the chef of the parties would stand up and leave. Nobody, they rather not eating, not having lunch, instead of seeing that spectacle in the middle of midday, like.
Oh yeah. Yeah. But if you make good star food, you can quickly establish yourself as like, um, as one of the guys, like one of the people. If
What about
because you're taking care of people also, you make the little extra effort. You're like, okay, I got to make a salad for staff. I don't really want, and I don't really have the time, but fuck it. I'm going to make it as nice as I can. People appreciate it.
Yeah, no, no, no. That's something I really learned, and also, I mean, be smart. If you don't know how to cook lentils, staff meal is the perfect place to learn how to do that. Putting in practice, learning new dishes, traditional dishes that you will never cook in a restaurant,
Exactly.
because like mom and grandma recipes, that's the place to experiment with that. It's like a lab, that you can take
Yeah.
advantage of instead of taking it as a, oh man, I have to cook here. Instead of being in the plating section at the pass, like you can't be
Yes.
there without knowing the first things first.
Absolutely, 100%. And it's like a misguided thing. It's like, what do you want to do? Do you want to know how to cook really well? or you want to be the guy in the fancy jacket at the pass who calls out the orders. You know, you can't be one without being the other, or you can, but you'll not be good at your job.
Dude, the thing you just mentioned about this confrontation moment, that's also such a classic in restaurants. Do you remember Kitchen Confidentials, Bourdain's book? I think it was a story about him being at the Culinary Institute of America, and there was this old school chef that nobody wanted to have that moment with him because this guy was like a direct descendant of Escoffier, and if he would bring you to the corner, like the apprentice of an apprentice of Escoffier, and if he would bring you to the corner and have the corner moment with him, he would yell at you and bring like the your deepest shit out of you and tell it to you in your face. And there was a story that there was like this guy that went to Vietnam and was at this culinary school, and the moment that he knew this was coming, he resigned, you know, like he didn't want to. Oh man, Bourdain was so cool. I miss him.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I miss him too.
Well,
Um,
other fucked up stories I remember was there was this place, you know, that they didn't have a dishwasher, which is again like a super stupid thing to do, you know,
yeah.
like. And their solution was, well, the chefs can stay have an hour, 1 hour after service, cleaning all the dishes, and then they go. You know, like I'm so clever. That's
Easy, yeah.
such a smart solution. And of course, if you do that to a team of chefs, also it's need to be said that people that work in kitchens are not fancy intellectuals. These are people that you will find in punk rock concerts or you know like all sorts of street environments.
Used to
So
be anyway. Used to be. Now it's hipster kids that want to rebel against their
with
parents.
tattoos of, of kitchen
Of a sh-
utensils.
of a fucking chef's knife.
Anyways,
Uh,
like the what was I saying?
the
Yeah,
dishwasher.
yeah, exactly. So the solution was okay. So we just throw the plates away. That's systematically every day. They would
Just
throw
bin it.
like 3 bags full of plates. Like fuck them, you know. Like you want to
What?
save money? Here's your savings,
That's
asshole.
crazy. So crazy. Ah, but it's a good example of like, hey, if you treat your people like shit, they're gonna not give a single shit. You know,
Exactly. I mean, if you treat them like rats, they're going to become rats.
they're gonna
Actually,
become rats. Yeah, absolutely. No, that's very, very true. You know, that's and that's why it's like cultivating like a kitchen culture. You know, it's so important where you have people that like ride and die with you. You know, like the best like relationships with people that I've had in kitchens where you had a relationship where you as a manager they knew that you wanted the best for them, right? And that you were there to look after them and to teach them and to guide them, and it was like a mutual benefit. And like when you were able to like push them really really hard, and and afterwards, after you give like 110%, be able to kind of like finish service and like pat each other on the back and be like, hey, that was really good.
Mhm.
Like that is the best. But like if you just take and take and take, and you say, oh yeah, hey, just work a day extra, no problem, hey, you don't have anything to do, right? Just stay another hour, it doesn't matter. I know this, it says this in your contract, but aren't you committed to the restaurant? It's like, well, if I commit to the restaurant, what do you commit to me?
Yeah, and also, I mean, this. I had a friend just recently. He was called for a job interview, right?
Yeah.
And he was like, "I'm not sure about the payment. Not sure about it." The guy calls him and says, "No worries. You come here. I'll invite you. Uh, so you have a meal and we talk it over. Everything's going to be fine." And of course, you come here means you have to buy a flying ticket,
Mm.
you know? And he was like, look, I'm not convinced. I'm saying I'm not going to take it. I need to take a ticket now. But besides the salary you're offering me, it's not what I'm looking for. So let's leave it like that. He sent like a whatever, an SMS. The guy calls completely mental. because how does he dare to, to not accept his offer and blah 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 blah. I mean, again, like these chefs that think they're gods in their little world, and and they have to be praised as such. Is so absurd, and you get to see that still today. I'm talking about this was like just last week I heard this story.
What chef was it? We can cut it out, or we can beep it out. What chef was it? Tell me.
I think it was Collar de Pau.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but it's like, hey, but it's good, because he got the confirmation that his decision was right, you know?
Exactly.
It's like a red
Yeah,
flag. Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Because I mean, if you were like someone, I don't know what word to use, elegant or more sophisticated, you say, okay, thanks for everything. Period. End
Yes.
of the conversation. Goodbye. That's it. You don't call him, how dare you not to take the job I'm offering you and blah, blah, blah. Like, who
Yeah.
does that?
Who does
Like,
that? Yeah. Psychopaths. Yeah. Yeah, but it's like you say, also kind of like, all right, I think it's like totally normal, and it took me a while to also accept this in my head, that if somebody's like wants to hire you, like if you're already an established professional, and they say, I want you to come to cook in my restaurant, to manage this, blah blah blah, and they want to hire you from like the other side of the globe, it's not like nobody should expect you to buy a plane ticket. Like it's very simple. If they want to hire you, if they want to hire internationally, they have to pay for the plane ticket, for the accommodation for one day, etc. And like ideally, show you the restaurant also where they're at. I think that's super normal. It should be anyway.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
No, and going crazy about it, going
Yeah.
crazy that,
No,
that
that's
someone crazy. Well, and the other story about fucked up characters I wanted to tell, I had these chefs, they were related, like cousins, and they became like really like famous afterwards. And I was working with them, and I also was in contact with a guy who worked with them for a long while. I think he was even his head chef for a while. So we were talking and talking and telling stories because these guys were so fucked up, man. They would do
mm,
things like, I don't know, you would see them coming on their day off to the restaurant and taking like a pineapple and a steak and take them. This is for a test I'm going to do at home, and would leave. Like this is kind
this is
And I remember man, that was so crappy. We would go to this, like a nice, uh, like an old school beach restaurant, and we would do a catering there. So he was like the invited chef, goes to this restaurant to give a dinner for a special event. So we would use this host kitchen, so to say. In
mm.
the instruction was to steal everything we could, to take trays, spoons,
What the
because we had
fuck?
so many problems with Tupperwares and all these kind of things. And after that event, we had everything, like tons of Tupperwares.
That's so crazy, man. Oh.
And this guy would do these kind of things over and over again, and you would see him talking in interviews, like making things up out of nowhere. Like, yeah, like, what is this? And it was like a normal fish stock, and he would be like, yeah, we took some plankton and infused it with sand. And the reporter like, sand? Yes, sand. And then all the chefs, looking like, what is this? Well, that also happens a lot, like
Yeah.
people bullshit talking about dishes. Oh, yes, this was this whatever herb taken from the forest where a nun grew it and would sing to it every day, and it's bought from the supermarket, like this kind of things.
Oh man, I've seen that so much, also in like
In
Nordic
top restaurants.
restaurants.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like you see the Netflix shows, the chef's tables, and it's like, look at this carrot, like, oh, this is the most beautiful carrot. And then when you go work there, it's like the fucking supermarket truck just like
Yeah,
brings
or
all.
even if you're lying about seafood origins,
Yes.
you know, like, yeah, this is
Mm.
an Atlantic hake and this and that, and it's whatever, man, you know, like,
Yeah, it's pretty shameless, and that's why, it's like I'm glad that we're moving away from that a little bit, and we're just sort of like I think like less pretentiousness is the way to go.
so the last story I had, it was like New Year's Eve, and we had to cook at this place. And after work, they told us, okay, you can come tomorrow with the ticket expenses if you need to take a taxi or a subway or whatever.
Mm.
So we pay you because we had to work for till very late.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, great, thank you. The next day, a guy comes with the fine because he was traveling in black without a ticket, and he was asking the company to pay for it.
That's really shameless. Uh, oh, that's amazing. That's a power move.
I guess that's it, no?
Yeah,
Tony
that's good.
Alexander.